I just actually, it was a great presentation, and I want to know how we can incorporate it into our daily lives. Can you post it on a website with those numbers and with the numbers that were up there that we couldn't see from the back, you know, and with the wheat background or whatever? Is there somewhere we can get it downloaded with those numbers? And
absolutely. Not only will anybody who's unlucky enough for me to get a hold of their business card today will just get it in their email. But the other thing is that this will all be posted on the CMC Forum's website and on the Blip TV channel and all of that, and those slides will be made available. I'll also make sure that Jane and Andy have them, so anybody who wants to get them through CMC, actually Andy already has them. So
thank you.
Thank you.
While others may be considering a question, I have a question for you. I think there may be lots of organizations and companies who think they've made lots of progress, reaching out to specific audiences, targeting messages, and portraying groups in a positive light. I'm curious about how much progress you think has been made. Let's say over the last 5-10 years. Do you see big progress, or are we about where we were?
I can start. I can say I have a good example for that. At Fifth Third Bank, we have what's called the Diversity Council, and that's something that was put into place because we wanted to make sure that we were in tune with a lot of diverse communities. So we formed business resource groups. So we have an African American business resource group, multicultural, GLBT women's group. And so I think it's, while we feel like we have made a lot of great strides within the past 5 years to kind of formulate these infrastructures, it's a work that never ends. Mm-hmm. And we are always working very hard at having everybody represented at the committees, having all the voices heard, and making sure that all of our infrastructures are kind of working together for the same cause. So while I can say, you know, in banking from my perspective, we've come a long way, there's always a lot of work to be done.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any others?
Oh, you sure me again? Oh, so I love the LGBTQ community. I mean, I say L first because I'm a feminist.
I got you.
But I love that they will, I like that the community, that the people in the community, they will come together, they'll talk about issues that is of importance to the community, and then they will act on it. And I think that keeps challenging corporations and organizations to do a better job. And so I'm always, one of my staff people are in here today, and I'm always saying, I wish every community would do more of that. Because if you come to the table, and if you're given the microphone, and then you don't say anything, then you have done a disservice to all of us. Mm-hmm. So that's the challenge, I think, that's stopping and slowing down progress, mm-hmm. is if you are in the room, and if you are at the table, it is part of your duty, I'm sorry, it is part of your responsibility to, you know, whom much is given, much is required. You have to say something because you are speaking, whether I am in the gay community or not. As a person of color, as a woman of color, when I bring a voice, that is a voice that easily cues you in to other voices being needed to be heard as well. So I think that we have made great strides. I think that, especially in Columbus, we do make tremendous efforts. But as Victoria said, it is never done. I mean, this is ongoing. And when we think that just because we hire a diversity person, then we don't have to do this anymore, or just because our marketing looks good, we don't have to do this anymore, or we have a, you know, Latina who is a senior vice president, the work is never done, because the communities will look and say, what's that about? Are you just making us happy?
Right.
Good community, you know?
Exactly.
So it's never done, it's ongoing.
I agree with all that, and I think there are some benchmarks that Megan and I could point to from an advertising standpoint. When I started with Outlook 8 years ago, 90% of the advertisers who were on our pages were gay-owned. Today, 70% of the people who advertise with us are not. That's a huge move, and we haven't lost them. We've gained other folks. Similarly, we've seen a very large number of GLBT-owned businesses begin to do business with 614. It goes the other way, too. I mean, as the niche market has to actually become part of the general market as well. Columbus stands alone in terms of the progress that we've made. For 10 years, we have published a who's who in Black Columbus book. For 2 years, we have published a who's who in Latino Columbus book. And this year in October, for the first time, we're launching the nation's first Who's Who in GLBT America book here in Columbus. That speaks volumes for who this city is.
Thank you. Our next question.
Michael, I'm Chad Fry, and I work for you, which is a pleasure, I should say. Michael, would you talk a little bit about business owners and companies and their perceptions regarding whether or not they can reach out to a specific community? Specifically, do I have a product that fits the GLBT community?
That's a loaded question. Thank you for asking it.
You're welcome.
Early on in the presentation, I tried to make the statement that you don't have to be of that community to sell to that community, and I think that sometimes things get pigeonholed, right? Latino products are things like, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and get a little bit potentially offensive or upset some people, because here's where the stereotypes come. When we're advertising to the Hispanic community, we need to be advertising grocery stores and music and big hats. And when we advertise to the African American community, we need to be advertising specific things. I sat down with a Toyota dealer several years ago who said, I can't advertise in the GLBT community because cars aren't gay products. And that was my reaction. And I said, what is a gay product? And he said, like pet grooming or hair care. And he was being sincere. He wasn't trying to be offensive. But I think that everybody gets pigeonholed, and everybody assumes that you can advertise those boring, everyday things that we all buy, like groceries and gasoline and stuff. People think, well, we'll just advertise that on the radio and in the dispatch, and then we'll very, very specifically target this Latino product or this African American product or this gay product. And I guess what I'm up here to say, and what I'm hoping that the ladies agree with me, is that that's a recipe for disaster. It's an absolute recipe for disaster, because even if there just aren't that many gay men who have dogs that need groomed, but all of us are buying groceries. I mean, that's just kind of it's a market size kind of thing. But I think that is a stereotypical mistake that gets made, and we're all guilty of doing it. Even those of us up here on the panel have occasionally had to catch ourselves and go, wait a minute, no, I can't do that. So.
Thank you, Michael. Unfortunately, our time has come to a close, and we will have to conclude. But you can continue the conversation over coffee and cookies in the lobby. And please join us next week for our discussion about sustaining arts. Once more, please thank our speakers, Michael Daniels, Courtney Kerrigan, Victoria Nunes, and Megan Weimer-Skirch. Enjoy the afternoon.